What's going on? What's going on? This is your boy Ray Mabry coming to you live on this great Sunday afternoon. Thank you very much for joining. Hey guys, welcome. Let's go ahead and let's continue talking about negotiating. Because as I always say, negotiating is where you really make your money in this business. Okay, so my name is Ray Mabry, full-time real estate wholesaler. Actually, on the 14th or 15th of this month, we'll make 1 year. 1 year since I've been full-time. Hey, what's going on, guys? All is well. God is good. God is great, man. Things are going great. So thank you very, very much for asking. Thank you for joining. And remember, guys, we're going for that million. I think we're getting close to 800,000 hearts. So remember, continue to show your boy some love. Let's go ahead and bust that $1 million goal out. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. As far as hearts now. All right, so let's talk about negotiating, because negotiating is key. It's so key to your success. And one thing people, I guess a lot of times when people do courses, or when you buy courses, or people like try to tell you about wholesaling, one of the main things they really don't talk much about is the negotiation factor of it, the negotiation side. And the reason being, because a lot of times you can give a person the script and say, hey, yeah, just read them the script, ask how many beds and baths, and how much you own and all that. And that's fine to get that information. You got to get that information, actually. But I don't think that's as important as finding out what that seller situation is, okay? And so what I want to talk to you about today, though, is I want to talk to you about how to make an offer, okay? Because normally, whenever I work with my students and I teach them, we normally don't make offers. We like to have the seller make us an offer. But there will be situations and times to where you're going to have a seller that's not going to give you an offer. They're going to be like, nope, make me an offer. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you're going to pay me for it, or how much you're going to give me for it, to make an offer. And some of them not going to reveal their hands. So there are some key things that I like to say to try to get around that, because that is an objection. Not necessarily a rejection, but a lot of times that is an objection. And if you know how to maneuver yourself around that, you can get to find out, at least get some kind of idea, some kind of baseline as to what that person needs to get for the property. But what I don't recommend doing, and a lot of times people go out here and do this, do not make offers if you don't have any kind of idea where the person needs to be. And what I mean by that is this. Let's use some hypothetical numbers. $100,000. The house is worth $100,000. After repair value, the off, is $100,000. Okay, and the person calls you back from your postcard or your letter, and all they basically say, hey Ray, this is John Doe. You sent me a postcard about my property. Give me a call back. All right. So whenever you get a return call like that, it doesn't really tell you anything other than I received your postcard. All right. So normally what I like to do is when I call them back. Now, let me just go ahead and say this too. If they do leave an address or something of that sort, I will try to go ahead and look the property up right quick to kind of get an idea where it's located and kind of get a quick valuation of it. All right. But in this scenario, you don't know what's going on with the property. So basically what I would do is I call them up. Hey, Mr. John, this is Ray Mabry. I'm the gentleman that sent you the postcard about your property. How you doing today? Something to that degree. So I want to go ahead and introduce myself, and I want to tell them why I'm calling. And then you also want to always ask him how he's doing, how he or she is doing. All right. And so based on his response, it's going to kind of give me an idea of how I need to carry on with the conversation. Some of them kind of give you a response like, yeah, just got off work, been a long day at work, or, just came out of the garden, been working in the garden, or just came back from the doctor and all that. Whatever response they give me, I'm going to try to go ahead and ask how that situation is going. So if he says something like he just got home from work, working a 10-hour shift. Oh, wow, man. What kind of work do you do, Mr. John? Or, wow, that's a long time. How long have you been on the job? You want to ask them some general questions. Remember, we're trying to build that rapport. The way it stands initially, you're just another person. You're just another investor or another buyer or whatever. So you got to kind of go ahead and start trying to build that rapport. So you want to ask them something specific. You can say something like, what Mr. John said, yeah, my wife and I, we just came back from the grocery store. Oh, really? What's your wife's name, Mr. John? Get her name, and you might want to ask them something about, hey, what's going on? You might want to ask them something about where they like to shop. Just something to go ahead and break the ice, all right? Because what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and go in to trying to see if we got a deal here or not. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to be so cold and so stoic that you can't build a relationship with a person. You don't want to sound scripted, and you don't want to be like just matter of fact. Have a personality. Hey, what's going on, Lana? Best realtor. Have a personality, because remember, you're talking to an individual on the other side of that phone, all right? And this person may be going through some things You don't know what they're dealing with. So just be personable. All right. If you don't know how to be personable, then that's just a skill set you're going to have to start working on. All right. So we're going to go ahead and just start talking to them and find out more about the property. You're going to ask them, what's his situation or what's his motivation. I would even ask them, what's their motivation, but I won't come out and say, what's your motivation for selling? I said, well, Mr. John, depending on what he tells me about the property, I may say something like, well, the house sounds like it's in pretty good condition, or it's in moving condition. Why are you selling? Let me ask you this. Why are you selling? Or, Mr. John, can you tell me why you didn't list it with a realtor or something? You want to kind of ask those general questions to find out the motivation. Because whenever you're talking with the seller, you got to have two pieces of information. One, you got to find out their motivation. You need to find out why do they need to sell, not want to sell. Why do they need to sell? And number two, you got to find a price. Those are my two main objectives whenever I'm talking to any seller. Now, out of 10 times, I may get that information 7 to 8 times, but I'm going for 10. All right. And that's the objective. The objective is to go for 10 out of 10. Even though you may only get it half the time, you won't get it unless you ask for it. Okay. But let's go ahead and keep it moving. Let's keep this scenario going on. So we find out what's going on with Mr. John, and just probably try to find out that he and his wife ready to retire, and they want to go ahead and liquidate some of their properties and stuff. So let's say they're retiring, and they want to go ahead and get rid of some of their properties. Now, Mr. John is calling you back on one particular property that you mailed to him. So obviously the common question would be, oh, really? How many more properties do you have, Mr. John, or where are your other properties located? And they may give you some general response, oh, here and there, whatever. But you want to try to go ahead and find out about those properties too, because those could be opportunities for you to get those deals as well. All right, but we're still going through the process. Now it's time to start talking about the money. All right, once he already told you everything about the property, and you ask him the money questions based on his current condition, what do you think your property is worth? He or she doesn't tell you. Or you say something like, if I pay you all cash, close quickly, and paid all your closing costs, what's the least you'll take for it cash? They don't tell you. And then, of course, you can't say, is that the best you can do? But let's say you get to the point where you're trying to find out how much you need for the property, and they will not give you a price. All right, some of you guys go ahead and chime in to me. What do you say to overcome that objection? Remember, it's not necessarily a rejection, but at the same time, how do you come around or get around that make me an offer question from a seller? Go ahead and chime in, guys. Let me know what you think. You went through, you built rapport, you find out what the situation is. As I said before, they're landlords and they just want to go ahead and get rid of the properties and stuff. They want to liquidate their properties. What do you do as an investor to try to get a price from them if they won't give you a price? Okay, if I don't want to lowball you. Yeah, either way. Okay, so that's what you say, Audrey. You don't want to give a lowball offer. Yeah, sometimes you can be like, yeah, well, actually, Mr. John, I don't want to, give a lowball offer and insult you. It will help to know what you need. Yep. You also want to ask them. You always want to come from the perspective of need. How much do you need to get for the property? Not want. How much do you need to get for the property? But yeah, I definitely would say something like, yeah, Mr. Joe, Mr. John, that is. I don't want to. I don't want to give you a lowball offer and then insult you. Or something. Oh no, Ray, you want to insult me? Just go ahead and make me an offer. Or I don't really know what it's worth. Now, if they tell me they don't know what the property is worth, I said, well, actually, Mr. John, the property is really worth what you're willing to sell it for and what a person is willing to pay for it. And also, you can just keep in mind too, Mr. John, as I said, share with you earlier, my partner and I, we're investors, we are cash buyers, and so really and truly, we can't pay you what the property is worth because there's not enough room for us to go in, do the fix up, or go in and change this out, do some updating, and then turn around, either rent it out or resell it and make a profit if we pay you what it's worth. So ideally, Mr. John, what's going on? What I need to know from you, Mr. John, is how much do you need to get for your property cash? And then you listen. Remember, whenever I ask a question and I explain to them my position or my situation, I say what I got to say and then I'll be quiet. I just shut up and just listen to them. That way you're forcing a response. Now, what that response is, we don't know what it's going to be until they actually respond. But, like I just said then, I need to know what you need to get for your property, Mr. John. And then you just listen. Well, actually, Mr. John, I really need to get some kind of roundabout figure as to what you need to get for your property. And you listen. See, and that way, remember that we've already built some rapport and all that stuff. So he's kind of opening up. He's kind of getting comfortable and relaxed to my voice and hearing my position and stuff. But now it's time to go ahead and get down to the pricing. So even in all that, Mr. John still doesn't give a price. All right. So let's just say for whatever reason, Ray, I really don't know. Make me an offer or this and that, and they just won't give you a price. So this is how I handle it. Whenever you're making an offer, let's be on the same page. Yep, let's be on the same page. That's a good one. Hey, thanks a lot, BJ. So this is what I normally like to do. Okay, I've already asked him for the address. Now at this point, I've got the address from Mr. John. So what I may do is, depending on how things are going and how my schedule is and how motivated he may sound, I may do a follow-up call. So I may be like, well, Mr. John, let me do some research on the property, get with my partner, and give you a call back at such and such time, okay? But let's just say I'm kind of somewhat familiar with the area, but still not familiar with his property. And let's say it's a BC class neighborhood, which means it's an average neighborhood. It's a working class neighborhood where you know that if you got it for the right price, you got a large buyer pool of buyers that's interested in buying in that area. Now, if you know if it's over here on the west side or the east side where, it's low income and all that stuff, you may want to definitely need to do some research on that, but you may want to kind of put that off to maybe like the next day or so. But if it's in a BC class area, you may want to call them back within the next 30 minutes to an hour. Just kind of depends on your schedule. All right, but this is how I would go about as far as making an offer. And remember now, when I coach my students and clients, we rarely do this because our whole objective is trying to get a price from them. But sometimes some sellers will not give you a price. Try to look up comps when I'm talking to them. Yeah, that's a good idea too, Audrey. But a lot of times, reason I don't normally do that a lot is because I take a lot of notes. I take a whole lot of notes. So I'm basically listening to everything he says to try to look for some kind of hints and clues. And so it's kind of hard for me to do two things at one time. So I normally don't recommend that unless you can multitask. I normally don't do that because I'm so focused in on the conversation. All right. And because if you keep talking to a seller long enough, you will identify where he or she is coming from. I promise you. All right. But let's just say it's a situation where you're not getting anywhere. All right. So, yeah, we may try to go ahead and look it up. I would just try to go like maybe Zillow or somewhere to see what properties have sold for recently and then try to go ahead and kind of come up with a quick idea. Ideally, what I want to do too now, I'm going to definitely give them a lowball offer. If somebody doesn't give me a price on offer for a property, I'm going to give them a lowball offer. But here's how I'm going to position my offer, okay? All right, so let's say, by some chance, let's just say I look it up while I'm on the phone with them, all right? And the house is worth $100,000, fixed up after repair value, but properties are selling in that area for $35,000, $40,000 for whatever reason. And let's just say those are cash prices. You do have a range from say 40 to 100,000. That's the range as far as the purchase price. All right, so you don't know what this person wants for the property, and let's say the tax value on this house is, let's say the tax value is 40,000 too. So houses are selling for 40 to 80 or 40 to 100, and the tax value is 40. But Mr. John would not give you an idea how much he needs to get for the property. All right, two things you need to do whenever you're making an offer, and this is how I like to position it. One, you always want to refer to a third party, your partner. You could be a solopreneur, like, I'm pretty much a one-man band. I do have assistants for me, but I don't have a 50-50 partner. Now, this doesn't apply when I'm working with students and stuff because, of course, we're 50-50 JV partners. I'm talking about your own personal deals. But I would still refer to a partner whether I have a partner on the deal or not because that takes the pressure off you, first of all. It lets the person know that you're not the decision maker. Same thing like, let's say I'm talking to Mr. John, and let's say I made Mr. John an offer. He's going to have to go talk to his wife, Miss Sue. So now he's putting the responsibility on somebody else. Too, even though he may be the decision maker, he's going to be like, well, let me talk to my wife about that, or let me talk to my son or my daughter or somebody else. So it's okay for you as the investor to do the same thing when it comes to making an offer. Refer to your business partner, refer to your funding partner, or your contractor, whoever you need to refer to. That way you want, because you're an advocate, right? So you want to be on the seller's side. So it needs to be a thing where, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm on your side to try to get this property sold. Just in case you can't agree on the price, make it as so it's coming from your partner. Let them be the fall guy or the person, I ain't gonna say good cop, bad cop, but you want to always position yourself as someone to be an advocate for the seller. I hope that makes sense. So that's one approach I'm gonna take. The second approach I'm gonna take is I'm always gonna put it on the market. Always put your offers on the market. Once again, that takes the responsibility and the pressure off you, the investor. So let's go back to my scenario. The house is worth 100, tax value is 40,000. Houses are selling between 40,000 and 100,000. Okay, and Mr. John won't give you an offer. He won't give you a price that he needs to get for the property. So this is how I will position this offer. Remember now, I only do this when I have to. So after I've done my research and I got that information, remember now, the lowest price houses are selling for about 40,000, and Mr. John will not give me a price on the property. So this is how I'm gonna come. I'm always gonna come a lot lower than the lowest price sale. Why? And here's the reason why. So when I'm talking to Mr. John, I said, well, look, Mr. John, based on our research, I talked with my business partner, and based on our research, it looks like the houses are selling anywhere between 25 and 30,000, currently. How does that sound? Were you looking to try to get something around that price range? That might be one question. But I'll also say this too. Even before you throw a number out there, always go ahead and build your case first. So if you're gonna put on the market and say, well, Mr. John, you do know that houses are pretty much valued based off of what people are paying for them, and unfortunately, because of the way the market is, or because of that area, that neighborhood, house sales have been kind of low here recently. So really and truly, based on my research, it looks like houses are selling anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000. And then just listen. That's kind of a soft offer. That's a soft offer because, what I'm trying to do now at this point is I'm trying to get a response. I'm trying to get some kind of reaction from Mr. John, okay? So let's say, and I'm making that offer, but I'm not making that offer, if that makes sense. So all I need to do is find out where he's coming from. And you're going to probably get one or two responses. You're going to probably be like, oh, no, ain't no way in the world where I can sell my property for $25,000, $30,000. Oh, well, and then I still listen. And a lot of times they may be like, I can't take no less than $50,000 for it. Sometimes you can get a price out of them that way, or they may come back and say, well, it's kind of low. That's kind of a little lower than what I was expecting. But let me check with my wife, Sue, and let me get back with you. All right. So you still getting a response. Remember that we're already going from that 25 to 30,000 price range. Okay. So before you get off the phone, don't let him off the phone yet. Now, even though he needs to talk with Miss Sue, you can say, well, as I said, Mr. John, that's what properties are selling for around that price range, 25 to 30,000 range. But what price do you need to be at to make this deal work? Or what kind of cash price do you need to get for your property? Because remember now, we're already establishing a baseline. We already know he doesn't want to take no less than 25 to 30 for it. And sometimes it may come back and be like, well, I was looking to get somewhere right around 40,000. I was trying to get somewhere right around 50,000. And remember now, we're trying to get some kind of response from him. We're trying to get an idea as to what he needs to get for the property. And also keep in mind, if a seller comes back and says something like, I was trying to get somewhere around this amount, that lets you know that there's still some flexibility there. If somebody was saying, I was hoping to get, say, 40,000, or, it would be nice if I got 40,000 for it, that lets you know that person has some flexibility. That's not a rock bottom price. When you start hearing things like, oh, no, Ray, I can't take no less than 40,000 for it. Or, I had an offer 2 months ago for 45,000, I didn't take it. Now that's letting you know more and more that, hey, this person does have a baseline. They have a bottom line price that they only can take for this property, and it's up to me to either come up to that price or walk on the deal. But remember, the whole thing you're trying to get accomplished here is you're trying to find out what this person needs to get for the property. Now, here's another thing that really, really intimidates a lot of new people, and you can't let this fear, it's just a form of fear, but you can't let this stop you, and that's offending the seller. Remember, you've already built rapport with them. You ask him how he's doing, ask him about his wife and stuff, and you got a little history about him and stuff, right? Remember, whenever you're throwing figures out there, you're not technically making him that offer. You're just kind of telling him, one, what your partner is talking about. Remember that partner that you're referring to, and two, what the market is saying. So really and truly, when you make a lowball offer, if you're using those two situations or those two factors as things that you make your offer, then it really takes the pressure off you. I hope that makes sense to you guys too. Also keep in mind too, never ever make an offer to say, well, I only can pay you $30,000 for it, or the best I can do, Mr. John, is $40,000, because that's a take it or leave it statement. All right, so either he can take it or leave it. You always want to give yourself a range. Whenever you're making an offer or a counter offer, you want to give them a range. Let's say $30,000 is your price, is your price that you can pay for the property. Then you don't say you can pay $30,000 to $35,000 for it. You can say something like, well, really and truly, Mr. John, we need to be somewhere around $27,000 to $30,000. Don't say $30,000. Don't say $27,000. You want to say the full amount. Mr. John, we need to be somewhere right around $28,000 to $30,000 cash. And you want to say cash. You always want to get in a mode or in the habit of saying cash. It's something about that word cash that makes a seller think, cash. Even though it's going to be in the form of a check or a bank wire from the attorney's office or the title company, you want to say cash. There you go, Lance. Cash. Cash is king, okay? So let's go back to our scenario. All right. Remember, Mr. John, initially, he did not give us a price. And all we're doing now is working him for a price. Now, let's say by some chance you say really and truly properties are selling between $25,000 and $30,000. You listen to his response. Remember, he's going to either say, it's kind of low, Ray, or no, ain't no way in the world I can take that amount. Now, let's say if he said something like, oh, no, Ray, there's no way in the world I can sell my property for that amount. I'll come back and say, well, but no, Mr. John, that's not what I'm offering. I'm just telling you what properties are selling for recently in that area. See how that takes the pressure off you, the investor? Because remember, I'm on your side, Mr. John. So I'm not making that offer. I'm just telling you that's based off of what properties are selling for in that area. But at the same time, now you know that, hey, $30,000 is going to be a lot less than what Mr. John is looking to get for that property. And remember, all we're trying to do is just kind of get a figure, because we don't know if we're going to be able to do a deal with them anyways at this point or not, because we don't have a price. Okay. And another thing too, when I talk with students, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I got a motivated seller. Okay. How much does he need to get for the property? That's what I ask him. Oh, he wouldn't give me a price. Well, how do you know he's motivated? How do you really know he's motivated if he's not giving you a price? Think about it. Or more importantly, how do you know it's a deal if you don't have a price? That's my main concern there is, what's his motivation and how much he needs to get for the property? Those are the two main key elements you got to know whenever you're talking with these motivated sellers. You got to know that information. I just gave you an easy way to try to find out or get a price from a seller. And even in that, that's not 100%. Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes I'll probably go and ask them too, instead of the market, kind of give them a range as far as what properties are selling for. I always have to know the numbers first. Yep. Instead of giving him the market conditions, I'll probably hit him with the tax value. Oh, especially if the tax value is low. If the tax value is low, say, the house is worth $100,000. That's what houses are selling for after repair value. But for some reason, this property tax value is only $12,000. I mean, that's a big gap in a lot of areas. But I have seen that here recently in some markets. So I hit him at the tax value. Well, Mr. John, we did some research on it, and it looks like the tax value on that property is only, I say something like, it's only $12,000. And then just listen. Listen for a response. Yeah, Ray, that's what we pay. We pay $12,000, but there's no way in this world, Ray, we could take $12,000 for that property. Oh no, Mr. John, that's not what I was offering. I was just telling you what the tax value was. But let me ask you this: how close are you? How far? Let me ask you this, and I'll say something like this: what price did you have in mind, or how much did you need to get for the property? I already told you couldn't take 12 for it. How much do you need to get for the property? And just listen. Just listen. It could be dead silence. That's fine. That's fine. Remember now, you got to get in the habit of being able to listen. And a lot of time in listening and having the seller talk, you just got to be taking notes and listening. He or she will let you know most of the time where they're coming from. And so sometimes I use the tax value. And if the tax value is high, let's say houses are selling for $100,000 and the tax value on this property is somewhere right around $85,000, $90,000. I'm not going to ask them the tax value question because that's more of a retail. The property is more in line. The tax value is more in line with the property value. So I'm not going to ask him, were you trying to get tax value for it? Because now I'm asking him, is he trying to get retail for it? Which more than likely he probably is, but that's not a price that I'm going to try to work from. I'm not working from retail. Remember, we're wholesalers. Wholesaler means you work from a discount perspective, not a retail perspective, okay? So let me just recap, guys. Whenever you're talking with the seller, you always want to try to get a price from them. You got to find out what their motivation is, and you got to get a cash price from them. Whenever you're dealing with a seller that will not give you a cash price, you got to go and you have to put it on your partner as far as getting with your partner, doing some research and stuff, or, your partner said this, your partner said that. And two, you have to put it on the market condition, the neighborhood, what properties are selling for in the area recently. I say that too. I say something about the neighborhood. The neighborhood properties not really selling for much in that neighborhood here recently, or, because of the market. Houses are not selling for as much as they did back in 07, 08, which that's true. That's a very true. Not 07, 08. I say 05, 06, because they were booming then. 07, 08 is when stuff started going down. So I say it wasn't selling. They were selling for a lot more 10 years ago. I can say that too, because that's 05. And so they're not selling for as high as they were 10 years ago, Mr. John. That's another thing to strengthen my position. Another thing I would say too is, you might talk about the foreclosure. If there's a lot of foreclosures in that area and that surrounding area, you can talk about, the foreclosure market is pretty high now. And a lot of banks are taking properties back, which of course is affecting the value of your properties. That's affecting resale values. You can talk about cash buyers. A lot of people, it looks like a lot of people are paying. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, Atlanta. Thank you for joining again. I'm back. The reason I'm laughing because I thought about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. Anyway, no, who said that? It was some movie somebody said I'm back. I can't remember what movie somebody said I'm back. But anyways, welcome back. Or you can say something like, oh, if it's in the area where there's a lot of rentals and stuff, you can say something like, a lot of investors are buying that area, but they're buying them dirt cheap because properties Terminator. He said, I'll be back, right? I think Terminator said, I'll be back. But you could say investors are buying properties dirt cheap in that area, which of course is bringing the value of the properties down when it comes to the acquisition side of the purchase side. So it's just different angles and stuff you can go in talking with these sellers. But remember, don't be intimidated, all right? Just put it on a third party, put it on the situation or the economy. That allows you to be able to be on the seller's side. You never want to be in an adversarial role with the seller. Now, having said that, there will be some times where you're going to be in an adversarial role with the seller, but don't let that be your intent. And if that's the case and y'all adversaries, then more than likely you won't get that deal anyways. But you still want to kind of part ways and don't let it be a thing where, you're calling each other names and you both threatening each other for whatever reason, because that's not going to get you anywhere either. All right, guys? But remember, negotiating, focus on becoming a great negotiator. If you can focus on having a conversation with the seller, I promise you're going to make a lot of money. Thanks a lot, Audrey. You're going to make a lot of money because that's how you position yourself as an authority. That's how people get comfortable talking with you and dealing with you. And that's how you get referrals. Even by letting them know, hey, unfortunately, it sounds like, Mr. John, you're looking to get retail for your property. And unfortunately, we don't pay retail for properties. But if you don't mind, I do have a realtor friend or a realtor partner that I would definitely like to pass your name along. How does that sound? Some may be for it, some may not be for it. And if you can get a referral to a realtor, do that. Okay, because you definitely want to look out for the seller, best interest. But that's another way where they'd be like, okay, even though I know Ray can't get this deal done, he's still willing to help me out. And believe you me, they'll tell their friends about that too. Okay. All right, guys, that's my time. Thank you very, very much for the hearts. Remember, guys, it's going to be a great week. Today is, what's today's date? The 6th. The day is the 6th. December the 6th. So it's 12/6/15, which means tomorrow is the 7th. All right. So having said that, this year's it's going by. It's going by. Remember, continue to work on those goals, 2 to 3. Yep. I know you do, Atlanta. 2 to 3 goals per day, and just go ahead and continue to pound it and grind it out and continue to work hard. Be a hard worker. That's another thing too. Listen to me. I know a lot of you got regular jobs, 9 to 5s or whatever, second shift, third shifts. Okay, a lot of you guys work for someone, which that's fine. But here's my thing. Do not work harder for someone else than you do for yourself. Don't do that, okay? If you're working 40 hours thank you very much. If you're working 40 hours for someone else, you go out there and you give it all. You got to go work hard. Don't be a mediocre employee. Don't do that now, because that's stealing and that's not the way to do. Go work hard. But if you got 10 to 20 hours working your business, you got to work harder. You got to work hard on this end here, because if you go out here and you grind it and you work twice as hard on your business as you do for someone else, you're going to be in a position to go ahead and start working full-time in your business, and this thing is going to take off. So now you can create a lifestyle to where you can start, remember, you got your systems in place and you plugging people into those systems, and now you got a business going. Now you making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars per year. Something that you created. But you're not going to get there if, one, you're not being faithful and committed on this end in the 40 hours that you're working here on the job. And then two, if you're not working twice as hard on this end on your part-time business. You got to go out here. You got 2 jobs. You got 3 jobs. Whatever, however many jobs it takes for you to go ahead and get your business up and going, so that you can, leave this job here and focus full time on your job. You got to do whatever it takes. Okay? Don't half step it. Ain't no half stepping. No half stepping. Okay? You got to go. Hey, thanks a lot, Ed. You got to go hard, people. That's why I keep saying go hard. Be strong, be firm, be focused. I say that all day, every day, because I believe it. And that's what works. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you very much for the hearts. Really, really appreciate you guys. Remember, we're going for 1 million. Going for 1 million hearts. You replay viewers, look out for your boy. Some of y'all be looking out. Some of y'all be, But anyways, I still love you. Thank you very, very much. This is your boy, Ray Mabry, about to sign off. Until next time. Peace.